superstition and folklore. Foreigners Only is an absurdist psychological horror about the colonial hangover and our obsession with fair skin. Then there's Moshai. What's with your obsession with Bangla horror?
Um, so yeah, there's an intellectual answer to that, but like the honest answer is, look, making horror is fun, and I think it's no one has been doing it for a while, and I want to do something different. There've been a lot of thrillers, a lot of Bangla thrillers, but I felt like, I don't know, like as a child, the stories we always heard were horror stories, right? Like I remember the stories I read in school. There was a lot of poetry, a lot of literature, and you know, when you're young, you're told that this is good Bangla literature. You have to read this. This is what you're taught in school. But then when you go home, it's you and your cousins under a moshari at a sleepover or with your grandmother, and you're listening to horror stories, bhuter golpo, cholo bhuter golpo shuni. And that I think is so integral to our culture. And not just as kids, like a couple of years ago I was working for this INGO called Water Aid, and we went on this annual retreat. And I didn't really know anyone there. It was kind of this scenario where a lot of people way older than me, very corporate types, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure if I get along with everyone. But then suddenly it was like 11 p.m. at this retreat, and everyone just started telling ghost stories. And the beautiful thing about it was the perfect icebreaker, because everyone just kind of, whenever a Bengali starts a ghost story, first they tell you where their deshebari is. They tell you, oh, my village is in Mamanshing, and there's this little thing here, there's a little graveyard here, and this happens. So by telling horror stories, everyone was kind of talking about their lives, their culture, their childhood. And I just think it's so beautiful that horror is actually, it's in our blood. You know, it's not something we borrowed from the West, borrowed from Korean cinema or whatever, Conjuring or other horror movies. It's in our blood. And it's so weird that it's been in Bangla literature for so long, and in Bangla folk tales and superstition. But where is like the horror cinema? I felt like there was an absence there. And it was kind of almost a strategic move, like if I can fill that gap and do a decent job at it, maybe there's something there. And I just think that, you know, the beautiful thing about tapping into Bangla horror is we have so much trauma as a people, as Bengalis. You know, if you think about sort of, you know, the partition, if you think about all the wars, if you think about everything we go through on a day-to-day basis. So where I live in Bonani, there's this like manhole right in front of my house, and it's not covered. There's just like a small leaf on top of the manhole, but it's not covered. So I think I almost fell into that manhole a couple of times. So it's a way to keep myself grounded and humble. Like, it doesn't matter how many awards I win or how successful I am. I could walk out of my house any day and fall into that manhole and die, so nothing matters. And I just, it helps me think that horror is such a big part of our everyday lives as Bangladesh, no matter where we're living in the world. So if we don't have that horror in our cinema, then our movies just aren't authentic, and it's not representing our real life. So yeah, it was really important for me to kind of tap into that, if that